I severely underestimated Tennessee, and I freely admit it. When you look at the top 25 going into the college football season, there are a plethora of SEC schools just stacked. You couldn't go more than a couple of slots without, there's another one. And almost by definition, they're all not going to finish in that top 25. Like, there is enough parity. There is enough equality between those teams that a lot of schools are going to beat each other. And I didn't think Tennessee and Ole Miss were the two that I thought, like, okay, you're not going to finish as high as you are ranked right now. And through 2 weeks, I'm ready to call it. I got Tennessee wrong. I didn't think that the Vols would be, like 6-6 or anything like that. But I was wrong. They absolutely whipped North Carolina State up and down the field in Charlotte last weekend. And now you look at their schedule, and are they going to be undefeated the third Saturday in October? There's a real good chance of that. There's a real good chance that they are 6-0 when they go to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide at home in Knoxville. I hadn't considered Tennessee a playoff contender. But you look at their schedule now with what they did to NC State, and I'm not high on NC State, but I'm not a downer on NC State yet. I think you have to feel really good about Tennessee going to Oklahoma in a couple weeks. I think you have to feel real good about Tennessee playing Florida. I think you have to feel pretty good about the Vols against Alabama. And then their last five is essentially the antithesis of Florida's last five. Florida's last five during the college football season is as hard of a 5-game stretch as you will find in college football. Tennessee's is not that. Their final 5 games are against Kentucky, Mississippi State, at Georgia, which undeniably is a tough game, UTEP, and at Vanderbilt. And 3 of those 5 are at home. They go on the road to Georgia, which is a tall task, in Vanderbilt. But you know what? Even if they lose to both Alabama and Georgia, is Tennessee a top 11 program in that situation? Probably. They go 10-2, and their losses are to Alabama and Georgia. Tennessee is going to get in the college football playoff. And I had them completely pegged wrong. I thought they were slightly overrated. I don't know that I was a 100% believer in Nico Iamaleava. He can play, and he does things for that Tennessee offense that are just flat out different. The size that he brings, the skill that he brings, makes him such a difficult player to defend. They want to chuck the ball around the field. They want to move at the speed of lightning. And they're incredibly interesting to watch. I wondered about the defense. And I understand that you're making a lot of assumptions off of a game against UT Chattanooga and North Carolina State. But the defense has been very, very, very good through 2 weeks. And they get a week this week on Saturday against Kent State before they really have their first test, real big test, on the road at Oklahoma. The idea that Tennessee is going to go 12-0 does not exist in my brain. But I think they are closer to 12-0 than they are to 9-3. Tennessee, in my opinion, has quickly proven itself to be, you know what? We're going to be real good offensively, which is, I think, 2/3 of the name of the game in college football in 2024. If you don't have a good offense, it is by choice today. They have a very good offense and maybe an even better defense. And that's a hell of a combo to put together when you could be a college football playoff contender. So I sit here today and I tell you I got it wrong. I apologize to the Tennessee Volunteers because I had them pegged wrong. I am willing to admit that after 2 weeks. They are good, and not just good, they are very good. And if I were a betting man, and I'm not, but if I were, I would be hard-pressed not to place a bet. And I don't know what the odds would even be on Tennessee making the college football playoff as I sit here right now in front of God and everybody. Now, obviously, things can go haywire. Nico Iamaleava can go down. They got to resort to a backup quarterback. Who knows what else could happen? But I would feel strongly that Tennessee is going to find itself in a top 12 position come December than I ever would have imagined 2 weeks ago. And I just flat out missed it, got it wrong, booted it. And I think it's important to admit when you got it wrong. I think it's important to point out, like, hey, I didn't have that one right. That one's on me. But I'm impressed by Tennessee. And I'm when you look at things from a 1,000-foot view, they got essentially 3 games. And if they can win one of them, which is not asking all that much, it's not too big of a stretch to say, can you beat one of Oklahoma, Alabama, and Georgia? If you can beat one of them and not stub your toe against an Arkansas or a Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Mississippi State, you got a real good shot to make the college football playoff. And I don't know that I would want to play them in the college football playoff in the first round. I will make the declaration that the Vols are for real. And there'll be somebody to watch over the course of the next couple of weeks to not see where they're ranked in the college football playoff rankings or how they're ranked, but how high are they ranked? How high do they get in the committee's eyes? Because I could see them being viewed as one of those like, well, you know, they don't play true ground and pound SEC football. They just score a lot of points and make sure the other team doesn't score a lot of points, which is as dumb as it sounds when you put it that way. But I think Tennessee is a very, very, very good football team early in the year. The only hesitation I would have are, 1, injuries, and then 2, are you peaking too soon? Are you peaking too early? Because if Tennessee can get significantly better throughout the season, that's a very scary proposition for a lot of teams, not just in the SEC, but nationally. But if they're one of those teams that peak too early, if they beat Alabama the 3rd Saturday in October, and like that's the high point, and then you just don't keep getting better, that would be my biggest concern. And if that's your biggest concern, if being too great too soon is your biggest concern, I don't think you got a whole lot of worries and a whole lot of issues at this point. And that's a really, really, really good spot to be in. I was wrong about Tennessee. I'm certain I was wrong about other schools, and we'll talk about those in the coming days and weeks. But I think it's already important to point out, like, hey, they are very, very good, much better than I gave them credit for. And they're going to be dangerous, and I wouldn't want to play them. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. I appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we are pumping out. If you are listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.